Hi guys, and welcome to day 3 of the 30-day challenge. This is obviously the third task in the series, and this is the first day where we're going to be actually doing some data analysis and actually looking at some of your actual figures from the last 12 months. So this, like I said, it's the third day in the series, and there's a couple of days explaining what we're doing, and actually the second day is setting up this very basic spreadsheet that you can see in front of you now. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be actually using the spreadsheet that we created yesterday. So if this is the first video you're seeing, or this is the first time you're joining us, just check back in the group for the last couple of days of videos and make sure you're up to date with what it is that we're doing, just so you can get the most out of it. So this third day, what we're doing is we're going to be using the bank statements that you printed off. We're going to be using just the first month. So we're going to be using January 2020. It will be, if you're using the last year as the example, 2020 as the example. We're just going to be taking the first month and we're going to be inserting this into the spreadsheet. I'm going to explain to you how we're going to do that. Okay. So what you need to do is, I know most bank statements, when you export them, they're exported kind of on a month by month basis. If you export them as a spreadsheet, you might get away with it all being in kind of one chunk of data, which will make your life a little bit easier. But what I've done for this example, I've created a second spreadsheet that you can see here, which is just generic data, dummy data for a fake 2020 for last year. So what you're going to do, I've kind of compiled it all into one spreadsheet. You don't have to do that. I've done it just for ease of explanation, makes it a little bit easier for me to demonstrate what's going on. But you can see here, there's generic information about what it is. These are all fake transactions and fake numbers. But they should give you a rough idea of how to use them and how to get this spreadsheet up and working for you. Okay, so what we're going to do today, we're going to focus on the first month, which will be January 2020. If you're joining us a different day, if you're joining us in the future, and you're not joining us at the start of 2021, like a lot of people will be, just whatever is the oldest month in the statements that you've pulled off. So whatever's the oldest month, whatever's the first month, that's what we're going to be doing today. Okay, so to start with, all you need to do is take all the transactions from the last month. However your statement has been formatted, it doesn't really matter. I can explain that for you. So but whatever it is, take your first month of transactions here. So highlight those down to the 31st of January. Make sure you've got every column highlighted, which we do. Copy that, and then we're just going to insert it into our spreadsheet here, like that. Perfect. Okay, so this first column is the date. Make sure the dates are accurate in the date column. Your supplier / reference. Make sure, obviously, mine's very generic, but make sure yours is actually what it is, so you can see what's what. Outgoings is any money that's going out, any money that's paid out, and income is obviously any money coming in. A lot of statements, they combine these into one column and they just put them in minus figures. That won't work for what we're doing. So what you're going to have to do, if there's any outgoings that are labeled as a minus figure rather than split into two columns, just what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to copy the outgoings across into their own column and just turn them from a negative number into a positive number. It's a bit of legwork, but it's not too much. We're doing a month at a time, so hopefully it won't be too much to put across. And also your income categories, income columns, anything coming in, and your category is the one bit that we're going to have to fill out manually. Okay. So once they're all in and they're all looking like they should, and they're all formatted as they should, we need to categorize all the outgoings. The income, we just leave that as general income. That doesn't really matter. But the outgoings, for example, wages, loans, insurances, any of that stuff, we're gonna have to give that and allocate that as a category. Okay, so the categories are any of these 7 that we established yesterday. So materials, VAT, profit, owner's pay, tax, wages, and expenses. So the top one here, materials, that's going to be a common one. That'll perhaps be either your biggest or your second biggest spend category. That's for anything used on the completion of a job. So paving slabs, fencing, concrete, any materials, plants, grass, turf, any of that stuff, that's all counted as materials. So anything actually used in the creating of a finished job. It's counted as materials. VAT is anytime you paid a VAT bill, so anytime you paid a tax bill, very fairly straightforward. Profit is a little bit more complicated. It's not so much like accounting profit. It's not the money that you've made for the year. It's in the bank statements. It's any time you've taken a bonus or paid yourself money as a profit bonus. So anytime you've actually sat down and gone, I am taking profit from the business for myself. That's profit. So a lot of companies, a lot of businesses, this figure is actually zero. So they don't actually ever sit down and award themselves a profit bonus. Therefore, this will be zero. So that matches hand in hand with owner's pay. And owner's pay is any time you sat down and you've paid yourself money out of the company as a wage, for example. So if you said, "Oh, I've worked in the business this month, therefore I'm going to pay myself however much money." So anytime you've kind of paid yourself a wage, that's owner's pay. Tax is any tax that you've paid as corporation tax, so any tax on your profits that you've made in the company, or any time you paid or covered your own personal tax bill as well. So that's a little bit beyond what the definition normally is, but for this purpose and for our method, we're aiming to get the company paying your own personal tax for you, which is perfectly okay. So anytime your company's paid corporation tax, or anytime your company's paid your own tax bill, that will be allocated for it as this category. Again, for a lot of companies, that's zero. So don't worry about it if you haven't or aren't doing it at the moment. It's no big issue. We're going to get you there, but that will probably be zero for a lot of companies. The next one is wages. So anytime you've paid any of your team's wages to finish projects, not including your own. Okay, so they don't include your own wages; they include all your staff's wages. And then expenses is the last one, which kind of covers everything else. So insurances, stationery, plant and tool hire, fuel, all these other expenses will add up. And this is like materials, it'll either be your most or second largest outgoing. Okay, so anything else is covered under expenses. So what we'll do is we'll go over this dummy data for January for last year, and then hopefully you can do the same thing. Okay, so I'll rattle through it as quick as I can. My supplier references are simplified because I've gone through it and simplified it myself into this one spreadsheet. So it should be a little bit easier for me. You might have to kind of identify exactly what each transaction is, but I've already gone through and done that, so it's a little bit easier. Okay, so this first one, 1st January is wages. So obviously that's category of wages. This one's income, so it doesn't need a category. Second one is wages again. Again, income doesn't need a category. And a third, wages. Okay, so this one first here is a loan repayment. So that is counted as an expense. So that goes under the expenses and more wages. Insurance, that goes under as an expense. Wages, interest, any loan debt or interest, again, any sort of banking fees, these are all expenses. Income, we don't need. So grass, this is our first one that we're going to put down as material. So that's, say, turf or artificial grass, whatever it is. That's a material needed for a project. So that's going to go under as a material category. Fuel is an expense. Expenses. Plants, again, that's a material. Fuel is an expense. Plant hire. So plant hire, well, that's helped you create a job, hiring a tool or machinery. That doesn't go as a material. That is another expense that we're going to aim to reduce. Interest is an expense. Again, income, there's no need for a category on that one. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly rattle through these and only stop for ones that we haven't gone through before. So storage, if you've got a lock away or lock up to keep your tools, machinery, whatever it is that you've got, that goes under an expense as well. So majority of times things will just simply be down as expenses. Okay, so let me rattle through these as quick as I can. So here we go. That's your first VAT payment. So put that under VAT. Insurance is an expense. Slabs. The slabs, they're a material because they were used to carry out the job. Plant hire is an expense. Soul drop is an expense. That's like a team building kind of exercise. Fuel is an expense, and vehicle rental, that will be another expense as a vehicle hire. Okay, so those are all categorized. That's the first month of the year done. What we now need to do is our first set of formulas, I guess, in your spreadsheet to get your spreadsheet actually working for you. So what you need to do is you need to total up the amount of each category. Okay, so by doing that, you need to put a formula in each of these kind of adjacent boxes. And the formula that we're going to do is just, we're going to manually sum all of the boxes that contain that category, for example. So delete that. So we're going to, the formula to start with is the equal sign, and we're writing sum and then an open bracket. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through our outgoings column. Anything that says materials, we're going to click it. That's going to put that in the box C15. And we're going to add any amount that says a materials in the categories. Okay, so anything with the material, it looks like there's only the 3. Add that final. Oh, I've done that wrong. So make sure all 3 materials need to add it together. Close the brackets, click add. I don't know what that autofill is asking me to do. We're going to not do that. VAT is the same. So anytime there's VAT, which there was only the 1, so we're going to sum again that. It's important still to do the sum because we're going to be adding to this, and it's only the 1 for now, but just sum that. Profit again. We're going to start with the same formula, but there is no profit paid out this month. Okay, so that's going to be nothing. Owners pay is the same. We actually didn't have anything in owners pay this month, so it's going to be the same. Tax is the same. There was nothing this month. Wages, here we go. So here's a big one. There was a few different ones. So we're going to again do that starting formula, equal sum, open bracket. And then anytime there's a wage, click the box, plus sign, and then just do that for every time there is a wage going out of the business. So there was quite a few of these in this month. So this fake business pays its staff on a weekly basis. So there's always wages leaving the business. And that is it. So close the brackets, click enter, and that will sum the wages for you. And expenses is the last one. And we're doing the same. So equal sum, open bracket, anytime there's an expense. So go down this and add all the expenses together. So expenses will almost always be your biggest. In some cases, the materials actually overtakes it and becomes the largest cost of your business, which is fair enough. But expenses is often, by the time you've taken into account all your fuels, all loan repayments, all that sort of stuff, the chances are that expenses becomes the biggest cost in the business. Okay, so you can see there that it's added everything together. There's a good way that you can just double check that you've included everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to create like a check-in box. So if we equal sum, and what we're going to do is we're going to total all of the outgoings. So that same formula, equal sum, open bracket. And what we're going to do is a formula that will always total the entire outgoings column. Okay, so we're going to start with C4. So type C4, and that'll just be the box, the cell C4 on here. And then what we're going to do is put a colon, which means a range, and then we're going to put the letter C. And that what that does is that sums the cell C4 all the way down to the whole of column C. Okay, so take my word for it. That's what that formula does. So just type exactly what I've typed here. Just close the brackets, and then that will give you the total of that entire column. No matter how many rows you add to it, that'll always this cell here will always total that column for you. So if we put total outgoings, and then what we're going to do here, let's quickly expand that so I can see it, is we're going to total all your categories, total of categories. Check my spelling. I'm sure that's fine. And what we're going to do here is we're going to equal sum again. But what we're going to do is we're going to sum all of these columns here. So you can do that by dragging, or you can type it out H3 to H9 and click enter. That's not worked. Oh, because it's got that NA, okay. So let's just make those 0 for now. Just double check. And there we go. You can see the total of each one is the same. So total outgoings is £7,520.65 and £7,520.65. So that means, the reason we do that is we're just double checking that we haven't missed anything. The total of these all added together should equal the total of the outgoings column. And we're just there effectively double checking that that is the case. So we can see there that we've not missed anything. Okay, and then the final thing we're going to do for today is, so we'll label this column here as total spend. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to create a final column called margin percent. In this margin column, what we're going to do is we're going to turn these numbers here into percentages. It's a really easy thing to do. What you first need to do is format these cells here so they display percentages. In Google Sheets, it's quite easy. You just go into this tab here, format, number, and then if you scroll down, well, you don't need to scroll down, it's right there, click percent. That will make any of these numbers in these cells display a percentage, which is what we want because it's a bit easier to understand that way. In Excel, what I think you need to do is you need to right click and then there's a format cells button, which Google Sheets doesn't have, but click format cells and then in the next menu just click percent in the same way as we just did here, and that'll turn everything into these cells into percentages. The formula is really simple. Again, it's another formula. What we're going to do is we're going to do equals the number in the box next to it, and we're just going to divide that by the total outgoings, okay? And that will turn that into a percentage of the total spend that was spent on materials. In this case, VAT. So take the number next to it, divided by, which is the slash, the outgoings, and that's it. We're going to do that for everything. We're going to do it even though these are 0. We're going to do the same thing. So the cell next to it divided by the total. It's just going to give 0, obviously, but that means we won't have to come back to it and do it in the future. So just cell next to it equals, always put the equal sign if you need it, equals this cell here divided by the total, and just do that for every single column. There are quicker ways to do it, but I'll just show you them one at a time. Divided by the total outgoings. So you can see here in January 2020, this generic data company, nearly 60% of their outgoings went on expenses, 11% on wages roughly, 10.5% on VAT, and then nearly 19% on materials. And that gives you kind of your margins for January, or how you operate for January. So just to double check, it's always a good idea to make sure those all add up to 100. So to do that, just pick any cell, it doesn't really matter, equal sum open bracket, which is the formula that we were using before. And then we want to just click the top of the cell at the top, drag that down till it includes all of it, and close the brackets and just make sure that adds up to 100%, which it does. And we don't need that. Okay, so that's January all done, or the first month of your data all done. Obviously, these numbers and figures are going to change throughout the year. That's why we don't just take a random month. It's a seasonal industry, so we need to take the data from an entire year and analyze that specific data to make sure the numbers are right across the entire seasonality of your business. Okay, so that's January done. Again, the next few days, we're just going to be doing more and more of the months throughout the year. So we're only going to do 1 month today because we had to also set up these formulas and the margin formulas as well. But going forwards, we can just sort of rattle through these, categorize everything, categorize your expenses, and before you know it, you're going to have your margins worked out from 2020, and that'll give you kind of your ground level to work from. So that's January all done. Thank you very much for checking back in again. We're going to be back tomorrow, and I think we'll probably do at least February and March, but if it's nice and quick, if it only takes a couple of minutes, we'll do as many as we can get through in sort of 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, so check back in. Any questions, again, just either message me. If you're on the Facebook group, just put a message in there. If you're checking in via email, just email back. Alternatively, if you just want to check out the website, that's www.elevateprofit.co.uk. And there's a lot of answers to a lot of questions on that website. Okay, so I'll put the link in the video description, or anywhere I post this. I'll also have a link to the website as well. So any questions, or if you want to look into it a little bit further, or look into what we do a little bit more, feel free to do that. That's www.elevateprofit.co.uk. Okay, nice one, guys. We'll check back in tomorrow.